I remember the first time I saw him. The torchlight shimmered on the marble walls of the French court, casting long, nervous shadows. The king, Charles VI, was seated on his throne, pale eyes darting in madness, and at his seat stood the Jester, a small man in a patched motley, his cap jingling with tiny bells. He bowed deeply, then looked up at the hall, and in that instant his grin was wider than any man's should be. At first, he seemed harmless, merely another fool brought to distract a king who had long since lost his grip on reason. But the laughter he provoked was never gentle. His tricks always ended in someone's humiliation, his games sharper, crueler than the court had expected. When the courtiers whispered uneasily, he would only laugh, bow, and move on, as if nothing had happened. Then the disappearances began. Young pages who had been seen walking in the gardens were never found again. Servants vanished from the kitchens. Each time, the Jester appeared before the king with some new performance. He staged mock executions with puppets, made from scraps of cloth, their tiny heads falling into baskets. The courtiers forced their laughter, though their faces blanched with fear. One night I followed him. The king had retired, and the halls were silent. I saw the Jester slipping through the corridors, bells muffled beneath his cloak. He carried something heavy in his arms, a sack, struggling, whimpering. My heart froze, but I could not look away. He led the bundle into a forgotten chamber below the palace, where only rats kept company. I will never forget what I witnessed there. By the light of a single candle, he pulled a boy, no older than 12, from the sack. The child's eyes were wide with terror, but the Jester cooed softly, patting his cheek as though preparing him for a game. Then he produced a thin blade, delicate as a dagger used for carving meat. His bells jingled faintly as he began. The boy's screams echoed through the stone chamber, muffled only when the Jester pressed a hand against his mouth, grinning all the while, eyes bright with delight. I fled before it ended. The next morning, the Jester performed for the court again. He juggled crimson apples, their juice dripping like blood. The king clapped wildly, delighted, while the courtiers sat frozen, pale as corpses. And I said nothing. For in those days, to speak against the Jester was to invite his gaze upon you. Sometimes in my dreams, I still hear the faint jingle of bells in the dark. And when I wake, I am never certain if the sound came from memory or from just outside my door.